conglomerate. We're the #1 prestige beauty company. So hopefully you go in your cupboard and you open it up tonight and you see what your wife is buying. Bobbi Brown's one of our brands, if you like the natural look. And why am I saying that? Because all of them are different and unique in how they are and how we do business. And what I'm here to talk about, we've heard about a lot today about the buzzword digital. It's everywhere, just like cloud, innovation, digital. How are we actually future-proofing our workplace for digital? One quick line, okay? We are living in a VUCA world. What do I mean by that? Volatility, uncertainty, changing, ambiguity. That's happening daily. How do we future-proof it? We always change constantly. We heard about that to this morning, and I loved hearing about that when we're talking about what's the end state, getting rid of the legacy. All of that is so important. And you can't just say, I'm going to be here 5 years from now. You can have that, but things change dynamically. And what is it about? It's about not losing that human experience. Really, if you take anything away from this other than Estée Lauder, all the different brands and what's in your cabinet, and learning a little something about education, knowing what we do as far as keeping in mind with the end consumer, not underutilizing that human experience. And I can't say that enough because I really believe life is an experience, just like these cars. Some of you went out there, I was watching you have this experience. And it's still the human touch, there's technology in there, and that's what we're here to talk about. Because the challenge is, it's changing every day. You wake up, everything changes, the world changes, and it's really, really important to have that connectivity with your consumer, your customer, however you want to say it, end to end on the experience that they want. Now, what do I mean by that? Some of you talked about transforming your IT department internally. That is great. That is fabulous. We did a bunch of transition and transformation. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Yako. We're on this journey. I can't say it enough. But now, how do we leapfrog and actually get the experiences and the productivity and the mobilization that we all expect every day in the workplace? So when I say digitization, I'm thinking internally. Jessica, thank you for that wonderful intro. I'm thinking internally from a productivity and externally from how you shop to what that experience is. Some of you have asked me in the back about putting makeup on, or do you have this mobile app, or what's the neatest and greatest thing about AI for the wives, artificial intelligence, and I get really excited about the future of where we're going, but you have to take it one day at a time. And one thing is for sure, it's all about diversity and how you do it. So for example, I was just in Korea 2 weeks ago, and we digitize things differently than we do in the US. That's a rapid, speed to market, agility, you name it. Depending upon the culture is different how we approach things. And one thing that is really great to see, and I'm a big proponent of, is about co-innovation. And I put it up here because how you future-proof your workplace can be multiple things. Yes, you have a strategy, but how are you engaging that experience? What are you trying to do? What are the results that you want? What are you trying to co-innovate together? Pull different teams. We heard Mattel talk about their transformation journey. And I'm all about pulling people together, not having silos, cross-collaboration, and making sure you're getting that experience end-to-end and not losing that human touch. And I can't stress that enough because being digital, I think, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, I'm going to be provocative, and say it means being more human. Understanding that experience is very important. So if you're getting an Uber car, you know the experience now that you're going to have. Well, you might have a bad driver, but you have high expectations on what you're going to do, correct? You need to think like that internally and externally and understand the true expectations. When you get that car, that Uber, and you click on mobility, you have certain expectations. I don't know if you've ever thought about that. The same is in the workplace. You expect your iPhone and computer to work very fast, just like you do at your home, and it's often people struggle with this because at work it's often worse than it is at home. And you can't understand this, and it's all about that experience. And I'm also about leveraging group thinking and innovation. I can't say that enough as far as, I mentioned it, I'm going to drive it home from a humanity perspective, leveraging what people want. So for example, if you want to work differently in the workplace, where would you go for that today? Well, what we did and what I co-sponsored was getting a bunch of millennials in the room and actually asked them, how do you want to work across the globe? And they said, what? I said, no, I want to know how you would like to work, just like I'm going to pair you up and show how you're going to mentor how you shop. And we had folks in all different generations going out to shop with millennials, redoing our workplace internally, and you have high expectations on that. And I bring it up because that's just a strategy to enable a different way of thinking, a different digital way of going, and actually collaborating, again, the human touch, your experience on what you expect. And knowing your competitive landscape is very, very important. So if you have expectations on the human aspect of it, just like Uber did, and we have internals, you could solution it. I'm always telling folks at the workplace, we can automatically make it work. What is that experience that you're trying to do? That's very key, and people lose sight of that. I talk about being digital to the core. I talk about not losing the human touch. I'm just going to throw this out. When's the last time you got a handwritten note that says thank you? Last week. Thank you, Jessica. Some people, you're probably going, when is the last one? I'm not talking about a wedding invitation or a wedding thank you, an actual thank you, and that's great. And doesn't surprise me. Jessica's lovely. She's great at what she does. But when's the last time you actually got that experience of opening something up and reading it? That's the experience I'm talking about, and having technology enable that experience. And it's so important not to lose that human touch. And I'm a big proponent about leadership, collaboration, and making sure you just don't go off and into a room and go native and not understand the experience that you're trying to create. And I think that's very, very different, because you need to put your consumer first. It can be internal, again, in the workplace, how we're all transforming, and it can be external on the experience, just like Mattel. I don't know if they're still here. I see some people have left, but they know how they want Barbie to sell. They know that experience. They know the experience when they bring that Barbie doll home that they want their little girl to have. There's thought into that, and that you can't lose sight of. And actually use your design thinking. And I'm a big proponent of design thinking in digital and beyond digital. And a lot of you, I don't know if you're a proponent of that, but you actually map out with humans, not computers, with humans in a room, and I call it digital thinking prototype. Jaco and Joe, we've been involved in this, and actually mapping out that experience. Do you know how valuable that is? When's the last time you've been in, some of you call it pods or co-collaboration, innovation, and I'm actually talking about 3 solid days of mapping out the experience end to end. And I call that being it to your core. You don't just wake up one day, and I'm seeing all these Porsches driving right now, which is great to see. You don't wake up one day and go, I want to be digital. I want to be digital. What does that mean? If you ask 100 people, 10 people in here, what digital is, you're going to get 10 different answers. I'm talking about mobility, experience, how you're bringing that human aspect of it, and end to end, and put your consumer first, and I mentioned it earlier, it'll automatically happen. That experience is so important to the human touch. We're on our phones constantly. We are on our phones constantly, and all of us are attached to that technology. But what I actually, and I live it every day, we all do, that's just how we are, but bringing it to the core, making sure you don't lose sight of that human touch is so important, and it's a balance. It actually is a balance of it, and if someone were to say to you that it's going to change, everything's going to change all the time, yes, we know that. Can you future-proof anything? No, just like we can get hit out by a bus right now, you can't always say that something's going to happen at this certain time. And I think one of the things that is very provocative that I want to make sure everyone goes away with is, yes, things are changing. VUCA, what is that? We talked about it. Living in an ambiguity world. Very important. We do it personally and professionally. That's how we are. Everything is changing. And you need to embrace it. Embrace it. I know a lot of folks have you ever seen someone just fight off technology? Come on. Remember when email and the Wangs were here? I mean, I was in financial services and people actually didn't want to type in the email. Remember when you got your voicemail? When you call now, do you leave a voicemail a lot? No, you look at your missed call list. We have ingrained certain experiences now. Now you do on your personal, you'll look at your missed call. At work, you might leave a voicemail. There's certain things that you do differently that has changed over time. And I really, really think that from a perspective of outside in the world, we've lost touch with that. I mean, we really, really have. And from all of us work, that's why we're here. One of the other aspects of it is not utilizing that, underestimating the human aspect with data. So how many of you have business intelligence teams under you? Do you analyze data? Not many folks. When's the last time you actually analyzed data? Are you converting traffic? How many sales do you have? What are they really thinking? What is going on? How can I enable more from technology to make it seamless and productivity? How many folks are really using instant message at work? Does Office 365 work? I mean, I'm just throwing things out to be provocative in the internal and external. How is mobile working on what you do? How many of you have an application store within your place that you work? Not many people. And the reason I'm asking these questions is you need to actually think differently how you actually live your life. You expect when you go to your applications on your iPhone, I'm sure if I asked Joe, he'd pull it out, he'd load up his, and start purchasing apps. He thinks like that. We need to think like that in the workplace. So I'm being very provocative because, you sit here and say, Rhonda, what do you think of AI? I love AI. I do. But there's certain things that you cannot just say, we're going to lose human aspect of it in the experience. And that's at the heart of the core. One other thing is you need to drive an agile environment and innovation. Agility is key. And what do I mean by agile? I mentioned that Korea, they are so rapid in speed. That's why I love Asia over there. You have to drive it from your leadership chair. Agility, speed, decision making, being creative, challenging it, a team cheer, spirit challenge, leading from every chair, and not losing sight in this la-la land of, not following up. And I'm not saying la-la land just because of Oscars. I'm just saying because, there's certain things that have happened, but I think a lot of folks have lost sight of that. And I'm challenging you all to think like that because from the core perspective, technology and the human experience converge. Please keep that in mind. Don't lose sight of that. And Anupam and I were having a great conversation about it. Thank you, Anupam, for having me here. I really appreciate it with you and Kevin. To actually talk about driving value with decisions and making sure you're driving your brand name, Avasant. So I'm looking at Avasant. I've been sitting back there watching all of you, what's resonating, what's not, digital singularity when Kevin was up here, what he spoke about, what his core values are, what is he trying to drive, and really thinking about it's the experience, it's how we're changing and evolving, and how we're bringing things to life, and how we're empowering the human experience. It's very, very, if you were actually to think about how powerful and meaningful that is on what we do every day, I get excited about it. I'm very excited about it. And it changes daily. Someone asked me the other day, this morning and last night, Jessica asked a great question, what's your typical day like? Like, it's changing every day. And that's why I want everyone in here, it changes every day. You used to be able to go to work and go, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do. That doesn't happen. You can get one email or text and everything happens. And you need to think like that. And it's very, very important to Take that data. Some of you are sitting on so much data in your organization and you don't even utilize it. You don't. And you know what I'm talking about, and you have to find those. You can't manage what you don't measure. You've heard all of this. It's very, very true. How you change that into experiences, and it's at the core. It's in the real world. It's what we do. So everyone's walking around digital, security, innovation, being digital. It's here. We're living it. We're breathing it. How many of you have teenagers? How many of you have shopped with them? Do they go to the mall? No, they don't like brick and mortar. If they ever go to a Sephora, or how they like to shop, or go get clothes, please, I encourage you, if you really want to be relevant and know about the human experience, shop with them. Just watch how they shop. Pick up in store. Everything's on their app, most likely. Okay? And it's very, very data-driven, and it drives decisions that you make internally. It's a whole different experience. I don't know how many of you have been in a mall lately. Has anyone? Just think about that. A couple, maybe 3 or 4 of you. We are literally driving different change in behaviors on certain things, and companies are too. It's not just because I'm speaking about that in retail. I come from financial services, and 20 years there. It was a different world then. Now it's all about the experience. It's a human touch and high touch impact, and that's what I'm about. Digital to the core. We've had a lot of case studies with our brands, and I mentioned if you ever go into many of you are flying out, walk down. Just when you walk down, I just ask that you look up and look at all the different experiences people are having shopping at the airport versus in your personal life. It's a total different experience at the airport. If you ever sat back and just people watch and not put your head on your phone, it's very, very different, unique. A whole case study can be done on that. It's very, very intriguing. So being digital in the real world is important. Many of you drove those Porsches out there. I have one. I didn't go out there today. I was listening to all of the fabulous speakers, but all the technology in there. Think about this experiences here. Some buy them just to collect them, but think about being digital and being relevant. And I would ask you to ask yourself, are you relevant? And I'm seeing a lot of nods, so I know I'm getting through. Are you relevant? You don't have to answer it here. But I ask myself that every day leading the team, and I'm thinking about strategy, vision, where we're going, how can I change, what do people want, how can I make an impact, because I'm all about giving an impact to the world, but are you relevant? I heard Mattel talk about legacy, and they're right. Legacy is very, very important, cleaning that up. But it's very, very powerful when you step back and think. So I'm very encouraged of seeing all of this today. And if you walk away again, please don't underutilize what you do in UPM, and everyone here from a human aspect in touch. It is so, so important that people don't lose sight of that. And hopefully that hit home after lunch. All of you are either tired, and a lot of you are smiling. And I hope that helped. And I'm happy to be here.